This little green book got me in so much trouble. So when I was the disaster recovery manager for the government of Alberta for the Alberta Emergency Management Agency, we developed these handbooks for information on our disaster recovery program. And this green one was for agricultural operations. We had yellow for small business. We had blue for nonprofits. We even had some for homeowners that were in this magenta red color. Communication is a two-way process, and it is so important to know your audience. These got me in trouble because they were green. And what does green usually mean? It means go. People thought at the Welcome Center in High River in the 2013 floods that the green books were for people that could go home, and that the yellow ones were meant for people that had a house that was damaged but weren't really sure, and they thought that the red colored books were for homeowners that didn't have a home to go to. And it was a great lesson learned in crisis communications about not only the words that we depict, but the colors and the symbology. And that during high stress events, people aren't going to necessarily be thinking like government officials or community members or staff when they're preparing things like this and thinking about it. So because communication is a two-way process, nations, communities can expect to send and receive messages with members, with elders and youth. And it should be noted that during that communication process, there can be a lot of noise and interruption of the transmission through news reports, social media comments, messages being put out by traditional media that might contradict the organization's message. So it's really, really important that when you're prescribing your key messages, the things that you want people to know, that you know your audience and who you're speaking to, what their priorities are, what their values are, what influences them, what are their needs. That's why it's really important to stay attuned to social media and go into welcome centers and evacuation centers and talk to people so you can get an understanding of how they're thinking. Because typically audiences fall into two categories, internal and external. And sometimes nations can fail to recognize that there's on reserve members that have to be attended to, and there's also off reserve members that may also be keeping up with the news about family members or loved ones. Or maybe there was off reserve members that were planning to come home for a summer and now the community's been evacuated. So you've got to really watch who your audiences are, because even the federal government is an audience. Their staff are out there watching and keeping an eye on Facebook posts, news articles. And if they're seeing contradictory information in the number of evacuees or things that are going on, that's going to raise issues there, because they're not going to start to trust what's coming out of what they're seeing, either at the nation end or the public side. So when you're thinking about your audiences, try to categorize them into using demographics, so elders and youth. Where is an elder going to get information versus a youth? Do you need to do a printed newsletter in Cree or Dene or Blackfoot versus a TikTok for the youth? Do you need to go to Facebook or LinkedIn? Do you need to maybe set up a live stream radio channel? Whatever the case is, know your audience, know where they're at, know what their values are and how they prefer to be communicated to, and structure your messages to those audiences and their needs, and you won't go wrong. Take care.